we have covered some of the top topics around access management, right? So most of that activity will be performed by DBAs. So whatever uh, the document that we shared, that is with interview questions and answers, if as a developer, if you can go through those things, that would be enough fun. Access management things we have covered, the scenarios, uh, especially around uh, like the future tables, and how we will check the privileges for one role, and which users are assigned that role. So those commands are important. Okay, you can take a quick recap of those things. And then now today we are going to discuss about types of tables, okay, and how time travel can be set while creating tables. Let's start with those things. And before that, when we created our Snowflake account, right, it has given us an option to select the edition. Okay, so basically it'll give us three options: enterprise, sorry, standard, enterprise, business critical, virtual private Snowflake. Okay, this virtual private Snowflake, it is I mean, it won't show it as an option. Okay, let me show that. Give me here. So after creating account also, if someone asks you into how will you check which edition of Snowflake, which Snowflake edition your organization is using, right? You can check it here. If you click on your uh, like user, it will show you the edition and cloud region, all these details. Okay. So now, if you see, while creating account, it will ask you to select which edition you wanted to choose, right? So we'll discuss about what difference we will have with respect to the edition that we choose. That is listed in this document. So the basic first edition is standard. Okay, it is the basic edition, and then the next level is, yeah, the next level is enterprise edition, and apart from this, like we have business critical. Bad. Okay. And then virtual private Snowflake. This virtual private Snowflake, I mean, it won't show it as an option while creating a Snowflake account. If you want to use virtual private Snowflake, we can approach, that is, your client will approach Snowflake, and they will share you, how you can use this virtual private Snowflake. Okay. So what are the major differences between uh, these editions, that is standard, enterprise, business critical, and virtual private Snowflake are? We have this tables. Okay, we have the comparison listed in these tables. This would be enough for you to, I mean, even in certification point of view, as well as in interview point of view, if they try to ask you the difference between different editions, right? These two tables are enough for you to refer. Okay, quickly, this has all the comparisons with respect to multiple factors. Say here, if you see standard, enterprise, and business critical editions, right? Time travel. When we discussed in our demo, we are saying Snowflake has a unique feature called time travel, right? So how time travel is nothing but we can go back to the past and see what data was there at that specific point of time. Okay, so up to 90 days we can go back. So we'll be discussing this future in detail with examples. Okay, that time you'll get to know what is this time travel. So depending on the edition, right? Say if your client is choosing standard edition, maximum time travel they can set it 1 day. Okay, if they go for enterprise or business critical, it is 90 days. Up to 90 days they can go. This is one difference. But as I said, most of the clients, right, they will use the enterprise edition. Okay, no one will go for standard edition. So what the major difference is with respect to pricing, right? I mean, how the charges are, how your client will pay charges for Snowflake for compute, uh, especially for compute, right? That will be dependent on the edition they choose. Okay, if they go for standard edition, it will be bit less. If they go for enterprise, it will be bit more. I mean, business critical, it will be still more. That way it will go. Virtual private Snowflake, I mean, when we discuss pricing in detail, right? I told you we are going to cover pricing in a separate session in detail. That time we are going to explain about, how based on edition how pricing will vary. Okay. For now, the major differences with respect to futures, right? or I mean, basically, these are the main features that would vary based on the edition. So one is time travel, the other one is multi-cluster. Multi-cluster. I mean, when we created virtual warehouses, we can select minimum cluster count and maximum cluster count, right? If maximum cluster count is greater than one, right, we call it multi-cluster warehouse. Okay, if it is only one, it is single cluster warehouse. So in standard edition, you can't create multi-cluster warehouses. Okay, that is another difference. And we have other features called fail safe, data sharing, and then customer dedicated virtual warehouse. So all these features are there. We'll be covering each and every feature in detail, don't worry. So the major difference is with respect to this, you have to focus on where we have listed no or I mean red, and this particular thing like one day. The maximum time travel for standard edition is one day. Okay, and for multi-cluster warehouses we can't create in standard edition, and also materialized views we can't create in standard edition. That way, if you take column level security is not there. So, and failover fail back, this feature is not there in standard edition. So these are some of the features. So when we, I mean, again, after covering all these features which are listed here, right, we can revisit this, and we can at that time we'll be able to correlate it clearly. Okay, mainly now why I'm trying to explain this thing, I mean, the different editions is like now we are going to create tables and then set time travel, right? That time you should have clarity, all right, depending on edition how it will vary. Okay, that's why we are trying to cover it now. Again, after covering all these features, that is materialized views, data sharing, column level security, if you revisit this particular two tables, you will be clearly able to identify it. See, based on this two, I mean, this table, right? With respect to Snowpro certification and also in interview, like especially for certification, right? You will get two to three questions only based on this. That is, which feature is supported in which edition. That way, okay. Say they'll ask whether fail over or fail back is supported in enterprise edition. Okay, these kind of questions they'll ask. And column level security, what is the minimum edition that supports column level security? What is the minimum edition? Enterprise. Standard won't support that way. Okay, and then what is the minimum edition that supports failover or failback? Business critical edition. Okay, these are some of the things. And now, what is virtual private Snowflake is? It will have dedicated virtual servers, and completely separate Snowflake environment will be there. Okay, most of the clients we have this option, virtual private Snowflake, but no one will go for that. So if few clients which are more concerned, since Snowflake is storing data in cloud, right? um, Clients who are more worried about their data security, they will go with business critical edition. Okay, and then like if they're still worried, and they wanted to isolate or separate their accounts from regular Snowflake accounts or Snowflake environment, then they will go with virtual private Snowflake. As per my knowledge, no one are using this virtual private Snowflake right now. Okay, I mean, maybe rarely one or two clients would have opted for this virtual private Snowflake. But most of the majority, 90%, will use enterprise edition. Maybe say who have data, I mean, who are more concerned about data security, they will go with business critical edition. And another important feature of Snowflake is, as soon as you try to load any data, right, it will get compressed and encrypted. It follows encryption in order to provide you the security. Okay, we'll be discussing that also in detail when we start with our data loading, right? That time we are going to cover those features. Okay, my voice and screen is clear, right? Are you guys facing any issue as such?
Yes, it is.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, screen is
Just
also
yeah, just
clearly visible.
expand the screen.
Okay.
Mm.
um, I mean, it's clear, but okay. Is it clear now?
Okay,
Yeah, it
better.
is.
If you face any issue, let me know. Okay. Uh, I'll not be
Sure.
aware, right? I'll be going in my own flow. So yeah. Fine. This is about editions. Okay. I mean, if you, with respect to editions, right, we have listed all the futures, how it will vary, right? Within these two tables, these are enough for you in order to, I mean, differentiate the different editions with respect to Snow Pro or even in interviews. Okay. What kind of things they'll ask you is, if you have to create materialized view, what is the minimum edition that you would require? Enterprise, it is not supported in standard that way. Okay. Let's go to the other thing, like that is table types. Yep. So here, I was saying time travel, right? It is one of the unique features that Snowflake is offering. Okay. So how it helps is we'll be able to query or restore data from past without taking any backup as such. Okay. When we see example, you'll get to know up the max time travel that we can set is up to 90 days. In the sense, say you wanted to see data in a particular table at specific point, say at 9 a.m. 1 month back. Okay, that is now it is um, April 6th, right? So say I wanted to check my data, say at Feb 20 or March 1st at 9 a.m. In my table, whatever data at that point of time at 9 a.m. what data was there, I wanted to check. You can access that with time travel. Okay, we'll be seeing example for this time travel probably tomorrow. That time you'll get a clear picture of what is time travel, how it helps. Okay, so even if you have to set time travel, as I said when I was showing the differences between different editions, I've said like for standard edition, maximum time travel that you can set is only 1 day. Okay, and after that it is, I mean, above standard all editions it is 90 days. Okay, and default retention, how will set up this time travel is like while creating a table or database or even schema, right? We can set retention period in days. Okay, if you're not specifying anything, it is 1 day. I'll show you that. Okay, don't worry. Fail safe also I'll explain you probably tomorrow, not today. Today we'll focus on creating database tables, I mean schemas, tables, what are the types of tables. Okay, these things we'll try to cover today. So now, what are the types of tables in Snowflake are permanent tables, transient tables, temporary tables. For sure you will get in, I mean, even in interview they'll ask you what are the different types of tables, what are the differences. Okay, that question they'll ask you for sure. Even in certification you'll get this question. Okay, the main difference here is time travel. For permanent tables, time travel our retention period is 90 days, 0 to 90 days. Between 0 to 90 days you can set any number. Okay, whereas transient table is the time travel for this transient table is maximum 1 day, that is 0 to 1 days. Okay, even for temporary it is 0 to 1 days. And then fail safe I'll explain you what is fail safe. So after retention period is done, Snowflake has provided this feature called fail safe in order to, let me show you here. I mean, on high level we'll discuss in detail about fail safe tomorrow. On high level, if you have to say, fail safe is, I mean, provides protection of historical data in case of disaster. Okay, it will maintains after time travel another 7 days of data. It will be stored in failsafe. This is managed by Snowflake itself. Okay, in a sense, in order to recover data in case of disaster or any such I mean scenarios, right? Snowflake is offering this fail-safe feature. Okay, that is when this fail-safe starts is immediately after your time travel. Okay, we'll be discussing that in detail. But for now, I mean, on high level, if you have to say, I mean, fail-safe is like available for permanent tables. Okay, permanent tables, and for transient and temporary tables, fail-safe is not there. Okay, these differences are very important. And what is the scope in the sense, that is when you create permanent table, I mean, uh, uh, till when it will be available. Okay, until you drop it explicitly, you will be able to access this particular permanent table. Okay, we'll be seeing with examples now itself. But the main difference with respect to these three table types are, like, until you drop this table, you'll be able to access that table. Okay, that means that table will be available until you drop it explicitly. Even transient table, it behaves the same way. Okay, until you drop it explicitly, that particular table will be there. Whereas this particular temporary table, it will be only for that session. Okay, the scope, when you create temporary table, it will be available only for that session. Okay, if someone is already aware about if they have worked on relational databases like Oracle, SQL Server, they would be aware like what is permanent, temporary. Okay, so here the scope is nothing but till when that particular table is available is until, this permanent and transient, they'll be available until you drop it explicitly. Okay, that is using drop table name. If you drop this table, then only it will not be there. Whereas this temporary table, it will be only for that session. That is, I'll show you. If you create temporary table, it will be there only for that worksheet. If you try to access that table in another worksheet, you can't read that, or you can't see that table. Okay, that is only for that session. Here, the scope, the syntax also is mentioned here. How you will create temporary table, permanent table is create table name. Okay, you won't specify any keyword. Whereas for transient, you have to specify create transient table name this way. Okay, see this, why I'm highlighting all these things are few options like transient and this time travel, fail safe. These are not there in regular databases, right? That's how they are different. Okay, compared to normal databases. So that's why we'll try to see how we'll create these tables, what is the scope, all those things. And for temporary table, the syntax is create temporary table name, and then you'll specify the column and data types, like our normal database. Okay, and then which scenario you have to go with permanent tables. So you wanted to store data permanently that time, and this particular transient, when you will go is only for data that does not need to be protected. Here, the main difference between permanent and transient table is, both are almost same. With respect to the futures, right? Until you drop, both are available. Retention period is maximum 1 day. Here it is 90 days. And fail safe, this is the important thing. Fail safe is not there for transient. Okay, what advantage you get with this transient is fail safe. Basically, it stores last 7 days of historical data in order to like so disaster. In case of disaster, if you have to recover data, Snowflake is offering this fail safe, right? So it will store 7 days of data in fail safe. So for that, it will charge for storage cost. Okay, that is, say you are storing some 1 TB of data for the last 7 days, right, in fail safe. So you will have to pay. Your client has to pay storage cost, only storage cost for this fail safe. Okay, that is when for normal permanent, normal tables, you will create them as permanent. Say you are staging the data. Okay, in between you are temporarily staging the data somewhere. That time you can use or create transient tables. Okay, the reason is here we don't have fail safe, so you won't pay additional storage costs here. Okay, that is one scenario where you will go with transient. And temporary, it is only for that session. Okay, that is say in your stored prop. If you have already worked on relational database, you would have used temporary tables. Okay, in your stored prop. So in order to temporarily store that result set only for that session. Okay, in that case you will go with temporary tables. Okay, even that doesn't have fail safe, and the scope is only for that session. Okay, we'll see how we'll create this tables in detail now, and practically, then you'll get a clear picture of what it is. Let me start creating it. So first, if we have got like sysadmin role, you'll be able to create databases, tables, all these things. Let me switch to sysadmin role. So if you have to switch the role right now, if you see, my role for this entire account is current scope is account admin. Okay. And then this is one thing. And even for the worksheet, you will have to see. Many people will get confused with the context. That is, here, even here, if it is account admin, sometimes for your worksheet, there will be a different role. Okay. So when you are executing or running some queries here, you have to check the context of your worksheet also. Okay. Sometimes you will get confused with this context and this context. Okay. So whatever queries that you run in this worksheet, they will take this role. I mean, whatever role you have for this worksheet, right? Even based on worksheet also, you can change the warehouse work role, database, all those things. Okay. Now I'll change. If you have to switch this, here it is showing account admin role. If you have to change the role or switch the role to some other role, say sysadmin, how you can do this way: use role name, sysadmin. Okay. Whoever joined today, like, right, first time, don't worry, we have covered these things. I mean, access management, it is not a big thing. Like, it is just, we have some of system defined roles. Okay. Say account admin is the highest role. Okay. Highest role. And then, say you can consider account admin as the owner of, this particular entire Snowflake account. It will have full access over this Snowflake account. And sysadmin, you will be able to manage objects. If you go to yesterday's session, at least the document, you will get an overview of how, what are the different roles, what is the hierarchy, all those things. Okay. Now I'm switching it to sysadmin role. Let me switch. See, earlier it was showing account admin. Now it switched to sysadmin. Okay. Now I'll create a database. Create database. This is my database name, our first database. You can give any name. Okay. So database successfully created. Now you have to see this database. You can run this show databases like, and this particular database name, or you can go to the UI, and there also you can create database, and then you can see the databases, all these things. Now if you see, we created this particular databases, and we are able to see that, and it will show some of the properties also. Is current, is default, and then retention period. This is important. How will set up time travel is based on retention period. Okay. Retention period that we set while creating a database or schema or table. Okay. Retention period is nothing but, say, depending on the retention period that you are setting, right? Those many days, it will store data in time travel. Okay. Retention period and time travel are in the sense, it is almost, it is the same thing. Based on retention period that you set for a table or database, those many days you'll have time travel available for that particular table or database. Okay. Now, if you're not, while creating this database, we didn't specify any retention period. Okay. If you're not specifying anything, the default retention period that it takes is 1 day. This is very important. What is the default retention period for a for any object, like they say database, tables, like any type of table? It is like, say, transient, temporary, or even permanent. It will take the default retention period as 1 day if you're not specifying anything. We can set this retention period at database level, schema level, and table level. Okay. We'll see like which one will take priority, how it works, all the scenarios we'll try to see. Now we created one database, and if you have to see, you can run the show databases like, and you can, or else if you simply run show databases, so it lists all the databases that were available. And if you want to filter out, you can give this like, and then your database name. So I just ran this show databases without any filter condition. It lists all the databases that are available. That is, this is sample data that Snowflake is offering, and then this is the database that we created just now. Let me go to the databases here. Okay. Here also it will list that particular database, whichever we created. We selected sysadmin as the role, right, to create this database. So that will be the owner of that particular database. Okay. You can create database here also using UI. Okay. Let me give test _db. And if you can generate the script also here, create database name, something like this. Okay. And even after creating, if you wanted to drop it or clone, we'll see what is this cloning option, and transfer the ownership. You can do it this way here. Click on transfer. You can change the role. So right now the owner is sysadmin, right? If you want to change the owner of this particular database using UI also, you can change it. Say I wanted to change it to account admin. This, see, you can here Snowflake, they have, and since it is software as a service, right? They wanted to their users to learn it easily and use it without any complexity. That's why even in UI you'll be able to generate all the scripts. See now, if you want to transfer the owner, right? You can go to the database and select the role, whichever, I mean, to whichever role you wanted to transfer the ownership for this particular database. And then if you want to generate SQL for this, right, you can click on this. It will generate the script, grant ownership on database to role. Okay. This is how, like, even if you are not able to remember some of the syntaxes, you can generate the SQL code here this way. Okay, let me close this. Even while creating, what is that, I have shown some more things, right? Yeah, warehouse, virtual warehouse for compute. That time also you can generate the script. I have shown that also. So so probably in development environment you will create all these databases while promoting it to higher environment, say testing or test UAT or production. So at that time, if you want to generate script, instead of manually writing the script, you can generate it this way. There are other ways also. Okay, that is we can generate table script view, table view, all the object scripts from a database or schema. Okay, I'll show that once we have all these things, I mean, tables created, and these things are done. Okay, now we created a database without specifying any retention period, right? And then the default retention period it took is 1 day. Now we'll try to create another database and we'll set this data retention time in days, okay, as 15. Okay, I'm creating another database. Production underscore database is my database name. Create database name, and then this particular data retention time in days. Okay, we are setting it as 15 days. In the sense, for this database, I mean, whatever objects that you create under this database, if you are not specifying any retention period, well, at object level, that is table level, right, it will take it will assign 15 days as the default retention period for that particular table. Okay, let me create this database. We created this particular database. Now if you see the retention period for this particular database, let me execute this show databases, I mean, this particular command. Or even you can describe the database also, like almost all the I mean, commands that work in regular database, right? Oracle, SQL Server. So those things will work even in Snowflake. Okay. Now this production database. Okay, this is the database that we created. If you see retention period is considered as 15 days. Okay, so because we have set it as 15, earlier we created another database and we didn't specify any retention period, but by default it took it as 1 day. Okay, what is the default retention period for either database, table, okay, or schema? Like, it will take it as 1 day if you're not specifying anything. If you are specifying, you can I mean, make it as whatever the number you give, it will take that many days as retention period. So based on this retention time, right, this particular time travel will be based on this particular retention period. Okay, I'll when we see examples for time travel tomorrow, you will understand this clearly. Okay, but say you are setting it as 15 days, so it will store data for objects whichever you are creating under this database as for 15 days, and you'll be able to access data from time trial for 15 days. That's how it works, retention period. Okay. Now we'll try to create databases under this production database that we created just now. Okay. Let me, if you want to change the context, right, for this particular worksheet. This is the worksheet that we are working on, right? If you want to switch the database to production database, you can use this way. Use database name. Okay. Let me run this command. So now it will change the context to production database. If you want to switch to some other database, you can use this like normal regular SQL command to change the context of your worksheet. Okay. Now I'm going to create a table. Okay, table under this particular production database. Okay, I just wanted to highlight you the functionality. So I'm not concerned about the naming conventions, all these things. I'm creating a table. Create table name. My table name is test underscore TBL. I have like a field. Okay, name is my column and varchar is the data type. I just wanted to show the functionality of our behavior of this particular retention period, how it behaves, all those things. Now for this production database, we have set data retention time as 15 days, right? So now if I create a table under this production database without specifying any retention period, okay, that is, I am not giving any retention period for this particular test table. Okay, let me create this. See, this test underscore TBL table got created successfully. Now, if you want to see the properties of this particular table, you can use show tables or describe table name. Okay, that also it will list all the details. This is the table that we created. Now, kind it is showing as table. Okay, I'll come to that. When we create temporary and transient, it will show the kind as temporary, transient, that way. Okay. Now this is permanent table. That is, we didn't specify any keyword, transient or temporary, right? So this is permanent table. We created permanent table, and then if you see retention time, it took it as 15 days because for this production database, while creating, we have set the data retention time in days as 15 days. That's why it took it as 15 days. Okay. If you're not specifying, that is under production, so you have set retention period of 15 days for your production database. Okay. And then while creating objects under this particular database, if you're not specifying explicitly any retention period, by default, it will take this database level retention time. Okay. Now you can alter it. See, now we created this particular table and we didn't specify any retention period. It took it as 15 days. If you try to alter this table and change the retention period, so say 90 days, you wanted to change it, you can do that. Okay. Many people will get confused with these things, and even in interview, they will try to confuse on this part. They'll give scenarios. Say, I have set retention period as 15 days or 1 week on my database level. If I create table under that, what will be the retention period for that particular table? Okay, they'll ask. And can we change that particular retention period only for that particular table? Okay, they'll ask these kind of things. You can change it. Let me change this retention period for this table. Alter table name, set data retention time equal to 90 days. Now, if you see this particular table, run the show tables. So now if you go to this particular property, retention time, it got changed to 90 days. Okay. Many people will think it'll, if you set it on database level, the retention period on database level, even for all objects, it will take 15 days. You can't change it, something like that. No, it is not that way. If you are not specifying anything, then by default, it will take this particular retention period. If you are setting it while creating the table itself, or after that, if you alter it, it will take that particular retention period. Okay. Now let me create another table. Okay. TBL2. Okay. And while creating table itself, I'm setting the data retention time in days as 5. Earlier, we have increased the time, the retention period. That is, the database level, we have set it as 15 days. And then without providing retention period at table level, we have created. So that took the retention time as 15 days. And after creating this table, anytime you can alter the retention period for that particular table also. Okay. Now I'm creating another table and then setting the data retention time in days as 5. That is less than what we defined in at the database level. Okay. Now let me create this particular table 2. Okay. Okay, now if you try to see the table, show tables or describe this particular table, it will list the properties. This is the new table that we created, test table 2. Okay, if you go here, see it is taking as retention period as 5 days, because whichever retention period that you specify at object level, that will take priority. Okay, if you're not specifying anything, then it will take the retention period that you have set at database level. The same way for schema also, right, like what is the hierarchy. That is your database will have um, let me come here. This is the database that we created now. Okay. uh, in database we'll have list of tables, views, all these things, schemas you can create in order to group the objects, that is tables, views, logically separate them. We have schemas, you can create schema. By default in Snowflake, what schema you'll get is like in case of SQL server we have dbo is the default schema. The same way in Snowflake it is public is the default schema. Okay, that is if you're not specifying that is if you're not creating your custom schema at the default. If you try to create a table without specifying schema name here, right, it will get created under public schema. Okay, if you want to create a separate schema, okay, separate schema, and then create your object under that, you can do that. Okay, that is also possible. Okay, like normal databases only, the behavior is same. Okay, let me create some transient tables. Okay, I would like to show how it behaves. Okay, transient, temporary, all these things. So under the same production database, I'm trying to create a transient table. So how we'll create transient table is create. This is not required. That is replace. Create or replace is nothing but once you create a table, anytime, like if you wanted to recreate it or replace that particular table, you can use this create or replace syntax. Okay, if you first time when you are create table name is enough. Okay, that is if you wanted to recreate an existing table, that time you'll use this replace. Sometimes they'll ask what is difference between create and replace. Okay, so what will happen if you do create or replace table name. Okay, what it will do is it is kind of drop and recreate the table. Okay, that is if a table is already there, if you use this create or replace, it will drop the existing table and recreate it freshly as a new table. Okay, it won't throw any error saying let me show that. Let me create this table, transient table. Okay, now for this transient table, I've set the retention time in days as 1 day. Okay, you just focus on the functionality. Okay, functionality of each table, how it behaves, all these things. Now I already have this transient table. Now if I try to create this table again, right, it will throw error saying transient table already exists. Okay, in order to avoid this, that is next time you got some changes, you wanted to, your client has requested to add some more columns to this table. Okay, you can alter and add those columns, but uh, uh, for some reason you wanted to recreate that table. In that case, instead of manually dropping this table and recreating it, you can use this or replace. Okay, or replace. Now if you do this, what will happen is it will drop this existing table and recreate it. That's what it will do. Okay, let me run this. Now it won't throw any error. Okay, it'll get recreated. This is how it behaves. Create and replace. Now focus on transient table functionality. We created this table, right? Let me run the show tables command. Transient table. This is the table that we created now. If you see kind, right, it is showing it as transient because this is transient table. It is not here we have specified the keyword transient, create table sorry, create transient table name. Okay, so that's why this is transient table. Now let me come here. If you see the retention period, it took it as 1 day. Even if you are not specifying, it will take it as 1 day, because the default retention period is 1 day. Okay, and then I'm trying to recreate this table and change the retention period to 10 days. We'll see what will happen. See, invalid value 10 for parameter data retention time in days. The reason is, if you go and see the difference between this tables, right? What is the maximum retention period that we can set for this transient table? Only 1 day. Okay. If you try to change it, to more than 1 day, it will throw this error. Okay, that's the major difference. Okay, for permanent tables, you can set it to up to 90 days. Okay, based on that is if you're using enterprise edition. Okay, for standard, it is only 1 day. Okay, now this is one thing you'll have to keep in. I'll add this error also in the comment. Okay, now I wanted to create another table, temporary table. Okay, how will create temporary tables? You have to use this temporary keyword. Create a temporary table name, and then I'm setting retention period. Okay, let me create this. Now we created this table. Now let me show this tables. Run this show tables command. Now if you see, this is the temp table that we created. Temp table. The type or kind it is showing as temporary. This is how you will identify whether it is transient, temporary, or that is to the already existing tables. If you wanted to identify if it is transient, permanent, or temporary, you will identify it this way. For permanent tables, it will just show it as table. Okay. For transient, it will show transient. The kind as transient, and for temporary, it will show it as temporary. Now, if you go and see the retention period, it is 1 day. Okay, you even for this time temporary table, you can't. Change the retention period to more than 1 day. You can set it as either 0 or 1. Okay, only those things. Even for transient, 0 or 1. Okay. Now we'll try to insert some data into these tables. Insert into this test TBL is a permanent table, and I'm inserting the name as permanent. Simply, I wanted to just focus on the functionality. Okay. You first, if you understand the functionality, right? And that's when you will be able to answer with confidence in interviews. That's usually others, like what they will do is they'll just show the differences and they'll leave it. I just wanted to show how it behaves. Okay, let me create this, insert data into this table. Okay, let me select a warehouse. See, all this time it didn't use a warehouse, because the reason is these are metadata only operations. That is, creating a table won't require a compute. Okay, I'll explain that. Don't get confused now. When we discuss about caches, right? I'll try to highlight these things. Okay. Now I selected this compute warehouse. Okay, let me resize the warehouse to say extra small. I don't want to use Excel. See, on fly, we are able to change the warehouse size from Excel to XS. Okay, now I'm trying to insert this data. Now it is in suspended state. As soon as I run this insert statement, it will come into active state. In the sense, see, it came green. That's how. I'll insert data into this even transient table and temporary table also. Now, if you try to query data, right, from permanent permanent table, it is showing permanent. Why I am showing this thing is, wait for a minute, you will understand why I'm trying to show. So in this worksheet, I'm trying to access all three tables. That is a permanent table, transient table, and temporary table. The same queries I'll try to execute in a different worksheet. Okay. Different worksheet. I'll select the warehouse, same warehouse, compute warehouse. And then I'll select even the role. I'll change it to sysadmin, because there we can use sysadmin, right? Admin, and database type. Database. I'll select production database. schema public. Okay. This is where we created our table, right? Let me show here. Check once again. Okay. Production database, same context. Now if I run this particular permanent table, that is if I try to access permanent table, I'm able to read data. Transient table, let me see. Transient table also I'm able to read data. Temporary table we'll see. Temp table does not exist. We created temp table in this worksheet. That's what I am trying to highlight. Okay. So until what is the scope of each table is, until you drop this permanent and transient tables, they'll not be dropped. Whereas this temporary table, it is only for that particular session. Okay, session in the sense now it will work only in this worksheet. If you try to access that table in a different worksheet, I mean it will not be able to find it because it is only for that session. Temporary table scope is only for that session. That's why in order to highlight that I was trying to do all these things. Okay, that's how it works. This particular the scope of this temporary table is only for that session. It will not, you cannot access it in other worksheet. See here it is working. Whereas if you go and run this select statement from in a different worksheet, the same database, same context, same role, warehouse, and then database. Okay, warehouse is independent. You can select other warehouse also. Right? Okay, I'm in order to show like I didn't change anything. I use the same thing. Okay, now what is the scope? Until you drop this permanent table, it'll be there. This particular permanent table will still be there. Same with transient. Whereas this temporary table, if you close this session, this worksheet, and try to open it again, you will not be able to access. That I have already showed here, right? If you try to access in a different worksheet, you are not able to see that table. Okay, that's how this particular transient, temporary, all these tables work. Probably we have another 9 minutes left. Probably we will try to, cover the other things tomorrow. I don't want to. I mean, we'll take all the. If you have any questions, we'll take it. Whatever things, right, uh, that you would like to. If you have any doubts, we can take it now. We'll try to continue the other things tomorrow with respect to uh, different databases, and then how we'll set. How we'll access data from time travel. Okay, those things we'll try to see it tomorrow. I hope like you are able to understand at least the differences between these types of tables. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, this is very important. In interview, you will get a lot of questions on this different. Between these differences, what are different types of tables? Even we have external tables. We'll cover that. That is not like normal tables. It is to access data that is there directly. Say if you have some files in your cloud, either AWS S3 or somewhere. So using external tables, we can directly read the data. We'll be covering that in our upcoming sessions. Okay, that is not related now.
Hi, Hitesh, Jalandhar here.
Hey, hi, Jalendar, yeah.
The permanent table lifetime is 90 days, you are saying, right? After
No,
90,
no, not lifetime. It is not lifetime. Time travel.
okay.
Time travel is different. The table after 90 days, nothing will happen. This is different. That's what people will get confused with time travel and actual thing. Lifetime is, time travel is different. The scope is different. It will be there until you drop it. Permanent table.
Oh,
Okay.
it is
Time travel
available.
is a different thing. When you see example for time travel, you will understand what it is.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
It will store history of your data. That is, as I was saying, right? If you want to see what data was there in the table, like 30 days back or 60
Okay,
days
got it,
back,
got
you
it.
can check the data. Hmm. But that is
What
not,
are the time
the
travel?
lifetime of the table. Yeah, it is not the lifetime of the table. It is, in your time travel, you will have historical data. Your table, nothing will happen to your table. It is like behaves like normal table in a database. Until you drop it, it will be there. It will have the data, current data. Okay, let me show one more thing. So with respect to this, you will get clarity. Come here. See here. all your current data will be still there in a table. From time travel, you'll have historical data of last 90 days. Okay, if you want to get historical data of your table, you can get it from time travel, but current data will always be there, okay, in your table. Okay, when you see examples, that time you will understand these things. Tomorrow you'll get a full clarity of what is time travel, fail safe, all these details.
Got it, Hitesh. I think the table is existing, but time traveling historical data available till 90 days, right?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Mhm.
Hitesh, good morning.
This is additional. This time travel. This time travel is additional feature that Snowflake is offering. Okay, apart from the regular behavior of a table, that will help you in a few scenarios. I'll explain when you will go with time travel, how it will help. All those things will be covering probably from in the next sessions.
Good morning, Hitesh. I have one small doubt actually.
Hi Ranjit. Yeah.
So we in the table we are talking about, right? So, for example, we created the table for us a temporary thing. As per the requirement, initially it not
Okay.
comes with the permanent thing. But suddenly, like after a day or 2 days back, there is a requirement to change to the permanent. Actually, I just want to go with the permanent table. So on that time, like
Okay.
whatever we are doing in between that gap time period will be there, right? Based on that only charge will be happen or.
I couldn't get your question. You wanted to change it, change a temporary table or transient table into permanent, right?
Yeah, temporary table to transient to permanent actually.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
How
transient
it
to
charges until see only difference major differences with respect to the what you say this particular fail safe. Fail safe is not there for transient table, whereas for permanent table it is there. So if you try to change a table from transient to permanent, that time, I mean, after you make it as permanent table, right?
yeah.
After you make it as permanent table, then that will have fail safe enabled. Okay, that will be the major difference. And time travel, if you have set, I mean, for transient it will be maximum 1 day, whereas for this permanent table it can get extended up to 90 days. That is while recreating the table, you can set that retention period.
Okay,
Okay,
so is it possible, right?
you can't alter it directly, I believe. How you can do is you can recreate another table with same structure and move data from transient to permanent table.
Okay.
Okay.
So the existing one we can't do anything. Whatever we implemented with the table thing, that will be that only. We can't
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like we can't able to make any additions over there.
You can't change the type, I believe. I mean, we never tried. I'll check that out. But usually, some what most of the times what you will do is you will change the permanent tables to transient, but you won't do the reverse, transient to permanent. That in that case you can recreate a table, I mean another table as permanent, or you can clone it. I'll explain you. We have cloning concept. Okay,
Okay.
cloning will help you this way, to recreate the table,
Okay. Because
like
the
your
majority
scenario,
clients they will
whatever you are
some
saying
kind of
is,
clients will be.
yeah. See, whatever scenario you said, for that we can use cloning concept in Snowflake. That time I'll show this scenario as well, whatever you asked. Okay.
Yeah, sure it is. Because some
Mhm.
of the clients they used to be in a
Yeah,
reverse
yeah.
right here.
Correct, correct. That
They
way,
will
that
keep
time
the
it this particular option cloning will help, and even it won't. You have additional benefits. We call this cloning as zero copy clone, because
zero.
it won't charge you for storage. Though few things are there. I mean, now if I discuss cloning itself is a big concept. It will take at least half an hour to explain. When we come to
Okay,
that
sure.
session, right, cloning, that time I'll give clarity on how that can be done.
Sure, Hitesh. Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Uh,
Hitesh. Hitesh.
Yeah, Suresh.
Yeah, yeah. Who will decide this time frame? Like time travel, like client will
See,
decide or how?
mostly in real time, right? You won't
Hmm.
use beyond 30 days. 90 days, no one will use
Correct.
time travel. But because it will incur some additional storage cost, right? But in interview point of view and certification, they'll ask these questions. Mostly on time travel, in interviews they'll ask a lot of questions. Fail safe, time travel, how it works, different scenarios, all these things. Okay, that's why you will have to learn. But in real time, most of the times, I mean, if you take my old project, they have never used time travel, but it will help you. Few clients will use, few clients may not use, but in interviews you'll get questions for sure on this time travel, fail safe, all these things. You should be aware of those things, the different scenarios, uh, all these details. So while creating the table itself, your client will decide what should be the retention period at time travel side, that needs to be defined. Okay, mostly for critical tables, right? Say you are storing critical data in one or two tables. Only for them you can set the retention period to more than 1 day. Okay.
Okay, and one more thing, like transit we can use in the production mainly, or non-prod we will use the specific
Now you can use in production also. Say you would have came up with. I mean, I'll explain you in which scenario you will use transient tables. Okay, even you can create a transient database also. Okay, so
okay.
I'll show that tomorrow. How that
Mhm.
works is, say you are staging the data before loading it into your actual tables. You are staging the data in staging. I mean, staging tables. So you can create a database for staging tables and make that. I mean, that particular staging database, right? You will create it as transient database. Okay, that will not have fail safe. That way you will save some storage cost. That's when you will use this transient databases or tables. I'll when going forward, like when that scenario come, I mean situation comes, I'll explain you, like in the data loading, and when we discuss the project flow, right? I'll explain you these
Mhm.
things when you will use transient database tables, all these things.
Okay, and the temporary is yeah, and temporary is like a temp table which is in the SQL Server. Like this is the
Correct,
concept.
correct. Yeah,
Same.
same. But here we
Oh,
have additional features like time travel. That's how fail safe. Those two things are
yeah,
not
yeah,
there in SQL Server.
correct. Yeah, yeah. That's all. Satish,
Yeah,
thank you.
the other differences are same.
Okay.
Mhm. If anyone has any questions, they can stay. Others can drop off. Um,
And one more thing, like Hitesh, so
Giri,
when we
Harini,
delete, for example,
yeah,
Hitesh, when we set the time
yeah.
period for like the detention period for 30 days or 45 days, okay. Today,
Mhm.
if you delete from this day, it will calculate to next 45 days, right? If you set the 45 days, it means
Uh,
correct.
I couldn't get, like, probably tomorrow we'll see example, right? Then you'll understand that. Okay. But today we
Oh,
didn't see
okay,
any example for time travel, right? We just created
okay,
tables. Yeah. Tomorrow I'll show you how we'll access data from time travel, how it works. Although what are different ways of accessing data from time
okay.
travel. Yeah. Then you will understand that. That time we'll take that question if you still have doubt. Okay.
Okay, fine, no problem.
Mhm. So the new people who joined today, if you have any doubts, I'm not sure if you're able to understand 100%. Let me stop the recording.